Okay, picking up with voter behavior. Voter behavior. There are basically three sources that political scientists look at in order to analyze why people or why voters behave the way they do. Why do they vote the way they do? Why do they choose the parties that they do? So these three sources, the first is that they look at the results of elections. They want to see who's voting for what. What are women voting for? What are men voting for? What is the older generation voting for? So that's what they're looking at. The second source is that they do a lot of surveys. And so they do that survey research. And the second, or the third, excuse me, is that they're going to do some studies of political socialization. And political socialization is the process by which people gain their political attitudes and gain their political opinions. So it's that whole growing up process and how do you get to be the person you are kind of thing. So we're going to be looking at different factors that influence voters. And the first set of factors are sociological factors. And these are ones that are outside of you, like things that influence you outside of you. So it's not in your head. So first off, we're looking at income and occupation. And what political scientists have noticed is that there is a trend when it comes to your income, when it comes to your occupation, as to what party of the two major political parties you're going to vote for. And so what they've noticed and what the trend is that the middle to upper income people are usually Republican. Lower income are typically Democrats. So that means that roughly professionals and business people, a lot of them are Republican. Manual workers, people who work in factories, work with their hands, tend to be Democrats. When you look at education level, again, there's a trend that they can see, that you can follow. And basically what it comes down to is that the higher your education, the more likely you are to be Republican. So college graduates are more likely than high school graduates, who are more likely than grade school to be Republican. So the more education you have, the more likely it is that you're going to be Republican. The next thing is looking at gender and age. Now, for gender, there are not really a lot of consistent differences between men and women. But when issues that come up, such as war or national defense or personal rights like abortion and the ability to make those decisions, that's when we start seeing prominent differences show up. Women are typically more likely to go Democratic and men Republican when those issues are at the center of a debate or at the center of an election. So that's typically how that goes. When we look at age, younger voters are more likely to be Democrats. The older you get, the more conservative you get typically, and so you tend to become more and more Republican. Religious and ethnic background, Protestants are typically Republican. Catholics and Jews are typically Democrat. When we look at the minority population, non-whites, like blacks and Hispanic, tend to be Democrats, which is really kind of interesting because when you think about African Americans, right after the Civil War, they were staunch Republicans because that's the party of Lincoln. So they were very, very Republican up until the Great Depression, and FDR did a lot to help out African Americans, so they switched to become Democrats, and now they are very much a Democrat population. Like I said, not all of these are, this doesn't hold true for everybody in every instance, but these are the trends that people can see, that the political scientists can see. So the next one is geography. Where you live can determine or help determine what kind of party you're most likely going to belong to. We see consistent support for Republicans in states like Maine and Vermont, Kansas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas. The Dakotas are very Republican. We see a lot of support for Democrats, usually in the South. So we talk about the southern states; they tend to be very Democrat. Sorry. When you're looking at size of cities, bigger cities are very Democratic, whereas small rural areas are Republican, typically. The next one are family and other group affiliations. Your family, your coworkers, your friends, they all have an influence on you as to which party you more align yourself with. 9 out of 10 married couples share the same political affiliation. My husband and I are the 1 out of 10 who do not. He is very much a part of his party, and I'm very much a part of mine, although I tend to be a more independent than just pro one party. 2/3 of voters share their parents' beliefs, and again, I'm part of the 1/3 that does not. My parents were very, very conservative, and I'm not so much. The second category of voters are psychological factors. So these are things that are working inside you, like in your head. The first is party identification. Many people who are strongly identified with a party support that party regardless of who the candidate is, or what the issues are. They just never change. They kind of get it set in their head that this is what I am and this is how I'm voting no matter what. Doesn't matter who's running or anything. And so a lot of them do straight ticket voting, and straight ticket voting is where you vote for one party on the ticket. Doesn't matter what job they're going for, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter if they're a good candidate for that job, you just vote for them because of their party. Those that do not do this vote split ticket, and we've talked about split ticket voting before, but split ticket voting is where you vote for both parties on the same ticket. Like you go based on the person or based on the issue or whatever it is. You don't necessarily vote just for the party. And so people who don't fall into this category, a lot of them are independents, that they don't have a party affiliation. They can go back and forth, or they just don't want to get involved in those kinds of politics. Those are the independents. Other psychological factors, sometimes it just depends on the candidate and it depends on the issue. For example, in 1996, so we're looking at the election of Bob Dole and Bill Clinton. So 1996, 11% of regular Republican voters voted for Bill Clinton, who was the Democrat. So 11% of them said, I like the candidate better than it doesn't matter what party he is, I like this candidate better. So 11% of regular Republican voters chose Bill Clinton. On the other hand, 11% of regular Democrats voted for Bob Dole. So it was kind of an even trade. But there's been years where it's not an even trade, and that can help determine the outcome of an election. Impressions can make a difference as well. There's a cartoon on page 151 of your textbook, which shows a political advisor saying you really shouldn't get involved in this political race. You have a lot of facial hair, and your voice is squeaky, and you just look weird, so you probably shouldn't run. And then in the next little slide or a little box, it shows Abraham Lincoln, probably the most famous and well-respected presidents in our history. But based on his public image, he probably shouldn't. In today's society, he wouldn't have won. He just didn't have the posh and the finesse of candidates do today. So kind of interesting to think about that if mass media was really involved in politics back in the 1860s, would Abraham Lincoln have been able to lead us through the Civil War? Another great example, JFK versus Richard Nixon in 1968 election, 1961 election. Between JFK and Nixon, first televised. And JFK comes off very polished and smooth and ready with his answers. He'd been, coached on how to answer things. And going up against Richard Nixon, who was sweaty, he had a 5 o'clock shadow. He just didn't look good on TV. He looked old. He looked haggard. He looked run over. And so those impressions can do a lot to either help you or harm you. And so that's also a psychological. How you present yourself is going to influence how people vote, if they vote for you or not.